Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the TeleWellness Hub podcast. I'm Marta Hamilton, your host, and today we're going to be talking to Christy Chadwick. Christy is a therapist and advocate. She is a multi-passionate entrepreneur, seeing clients individually and hosting a membership group for essential oils and natural solutions. She also runs an organization advocating for deaf education services in Hawaii. She's the Maui representative for the Hawaiian Islands Association of Marriage and Family Therapy. She brings tools and strategies for self-awareness in her podcast and social media channels known as Inward Motion. Hi, Christy. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm very excited to dive in and talk to you because I think you have such an amazing, comprehensive background. And I think you bring a lot of modern, just from your bio, right? A lot of modern approach to help and wellness and support and therapy. So before we dive into that, first I want to know, why do you do the wellness work you do?
It's a great question of why do we get into the things that we are doing?
Yeah.
I was actually listening to a podcast this morning about therapists and how we are therapists before we even get the training to be a therapist because we are the helpers, the healers, the saviors sort of our family maybe, or so there's much of that, I think, in my background of just wanting to be a helper. I've always been a really great listener, and I wanted to sort of harness all of my innate abilities and kind of capitalize on that. So I've learned a lot of different modalities like Reiki and reflexology and bodywork, and um, also about the mind body connection with my experience in yoga and essential oils and tapping now. And I really love the aspect of using all of these tools and helping people find the solution that works for them to work through their own healing journeys and to process through the deep emotions. I really like to dive deep, get into the nitty gritty, and then see how we can go forward from there, and just look for ways to kind of work together in this, because it's a relationship, it's a connection, it's a process.
No, I love that. It is a connection, a process. I love hearing the why, right? Like why the work you do, because you could be doing other things. And interesting that you bring that up, kind of the roles before there was even training. When it comes to some of the yoga, the essential oils, and the other modalities, was that something you were interested in personally and decided to incorporate into your practice, into your work? Or was it something that first came, I guess, the training and science-minded analytical view on it? How did that work for you in terms of it being integrated into your work?
hmm I definitely went on my own healing journey in my early
Mhm.
20s after several car accidents sort of set me into a place of needing to figure out how to heal my body without going to the lengths of surgeries or things that I didn't really want to do for myself. And I ended up finding the world of yoga and this idea that we could
Mm.
heal our bodies, and how we could tune into the natural ebb and flow of how our body changes and work with it. Um, and then I love, looking at evidence-based practices and how it integrates into this natural solution-based
Mhm.
focus of how do we get to learn about yoga and then implement that in our lives of catering to what we need in a given moment, or with our bodies, or with our stress levels, or with our nervous system. And tapping, how can tapping really help with the nervous system, and what does that look like, and what is that stress response in the body, and how can we utilize the tools that we have at our fingertips, literally with tapping,
Mhm.
to help mitigate that. So it's been a both and of bringing in the practices for myself to utilize for my own healing journey for the last decade and a half, and then also working with others with this, and seeing how we get this exchange when I work with others, right? I get some healing as well. So it's this
Mm-hmm.
together practice that we get to do.
Yeah, I love that the emphasis on connection and the exchange because I think there's something to that that's really unique in the wellness industry that it's yes, there's a business behind what we're doing, right? We need to keep the lights on and do different things for but there's such an emphasis on the connection and the exchange and I often would tell clients, and I truly feel this way. It's an honor to get to walk alongside someone's journey,
Yeah.
and yes, and you mentioned having tools at our fingertips. What I love about the areas that you have so much expertise in, it sounds like it's an opportunity for empowerment for your clients. That it's something they can utilize that empowers them. So for
Mhm.
those listening who may not be familiar with tapping, how would you define tapping and what are the benefits of this technique?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I want to um, emphasize what you said about the privilege and honor of working with people, right? It's such an amazing journey that we get to be on with
Mhm.
them. So, tapping is a technique that allows the body to feel relaxed and safe when it's experiencing maybe an intense emotion, such as anxiety or stress or anger or fear or sadness. And it's a way to tap on certain points of the body that correlate with the meridians or the energy system and even the internal organs and the body system. And it helps to remind the body that it's safe, like I said. So it helps to tell the amygdala that it doesn't need to activate.
Mm,
We're okay. You don't need to go into stress response right now. It tells that flight, fight, or freeze in the nervous system to just relax, go back to the parasympathetic nervous system. We're all good. Let's be here
mm,
now. And then from that place, we can start to make decisions or process more clearly or have access to the tools that we need to maybe take the next step because we can't necessarily take a step from this intense place of fear, sadness, anger, stress. And so it
mm.
alleviates that so that we can then move from a place of ease and peace.
I mean, that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Like
right.
just yeah, and I love that now we have the science to provide support for techniques.
Mhm.
We can now measure cortisol, stress levels, everything that you're describing with the nervous system. It's just incredible that now we have the tools to really provide support for these techniques. And
Yeah.
what would it look like then when it comes to tapping? When it comes to certain sequences, or are there certain things that you recommend for, or certain situations or symptoms that you feel like tapping is the most beneficial for?
Mhm. I would say so. There is a set formula for tapping, and it's 7 different points. And
Mhm.
going through those points with sometimes a script is very helpful, and speaking out loud. And we actually focus on the quote unquote negative emotion or what is actually present, right? So it's that awareness that, I'm feeling frustrated right now and I can't get out of this frustration because I'm in this fight with my significant other and I don't know how to move through this. So it's acknowledging that I'm really frustrated and you're tapping on the side of the hand and you're saying, even though I feel frustrated right now, I choose to love, honor, and forgive myself.
Mm,
So it's one acknowledging that there's something coming up, and then also the remembering that it's okay and I still love myself no matter what feeling is
mhm,
coming up. I'm not the feeling that I'm feeling. It's separate and I'm okay and I forgive the part of me that feels frustrated. And moving through the points as you go of just like reminding yourself like I'm safe and I feel frustrated. So it's acknowledging that there's a frustration or there's an emotion coming up and giving that acknowledgement is empowering. It is very healing for the body to have that recognition that there's something coming up. Most of the times I think we are taught through life and through our society to ignore or avoid these tough emotions.
mm. Mhm.
And if we ignore and avoid, we come into some issues and
Yeah.
there's some dysfunction happening. So in acknowledging, we get some healing and some moving
Mm.
through those emotions so they can be seen, felt, and let go.
And I imagine that with that, being able to identify your emotions, having an awareness of your emotions or thoughts that you're feeling, mindfulness techniques might work really well alongside that. How do you incorporate mindfulness and essential oils into
Mhm.
that healing work?
Yeah, so true. It's a big first step of just acknowledging that we have feelings and we have
Yeah.
needs. And
Mhm.
what do those look like? I have some great handouts that I kind of show clients of this is a feeling that might come up, and this sometimes is the need that is associated with that
Mm.
feeling. Does that resonate with you? And just the more tuning in, and the mindfulness piece is probably the start before the tapping, even just to
Mm.
tune into the
Okay.
body, become aware of what's happening in the body, become aware of the sensations, because the physical is what we can notice first. We can notice like the sweaty palms, we can notice the heart
Mm.
pounding, we can notice the shortness of breath, and just being aware of those things. And we can tap while we notice those things too. And the collarbone is one of my favorite parts to tap because it's right there, just right by the breath, right by the heart space. And we're just
Mm.
opening up the airways, being mindful of what is there, and then tapping through a sequence potentially from there. The essential oils also are incorporated to help alleviate the stress response too, because rubbing oils on the neck and around, like even the nose, to get the aroma, the olfactory nerves, it goes into the olfactory nerves and gets processed in through the nervous system to then remind us that we're present, we're okay. And rubbing it on the back of the neck gets it into the vagus nerve, which then accesses into the heart space as well. And the
Mm.
nervous system. So it all of it regulates, all of it helps to support this stress response that's happening to then release the stress. So yeah, I utilize all of these techniques depending on the client and depending on the situation. Yeah.
Right. I imagine it's very individualized, but how nice to have additional support for a stress response because that's we all face stressors. And when it comes to mindfulness, I've often heard people say, I'm not good at mindfulness. I'm not good at meditation. I can't do it because my mind is just not quiet. And I remember receiving a training where we talked about asking the brain to not have thoughts is like asking
Mhm.
the mouth to not produce saliva. Like it's not going to happen. There's some things that might produce more, just like some thoughts might be more triggers, more thoughts might be triggered depending on something in our environment or something we're experiencing. So for those who have been curious about mindfulness but maybe feel like, okay, that's I can't do it or I've tried, what kind of encouragement would you provide when it comes to mindfulness and incorporating it into daily life?
So true that our mind cannot not think. That's its
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
We think, I think it's like 85% of the thoughts we think today we thought yesterday. So our mind is constantly moving and going. And so I encourage people to not necessarily say, be quiet, mind, be quiet. I'm trying to focus on my body right now. Shut up. That's not, you're not helping. That
Mhm.
you can't tell your mind to be quiet. It's actually a recognizing that there are thoughts going through. Like, "Huh,
Mm.
I just felt that thought." You can even say that out loud. I thought that thought again. Oh, there's that thought."
Mhm.
And then remembering to come back to the breath. I think the breath is really key also in recognizing the body, and the mindfulness of it. It helps us to remember that we're present, remember that we're alive, and just gives us the fuel to release any sort of attachment that we have to making the mind quiet. And then just we're coming back to the breath. And so then the mind has actually something to do of, oh, okay, I'll just focus on the breath then. And the mind needs a job. Our mind
Mm.
is wired for that. And sometimes the mind can take over. So it's I
Mhm.
like to also practice a gratitude for the mind. Like, thank you so much for thinking these thoughts. Thank you for getting me to where I am. Thank you for all this knowledge and education and experience that you're holding. And now I want to tune into the heart space and I want to connect the two of you together. So let's connect the mind and
Mhm.
the heart together and see how we can work together moving forwut.
Oh, I love that. Just connecting the mind and the heart, and mind body
Mhm.
connection and the heart too. I how do you utilize oils with that for promoting wellness? And do you have favorite oils? Because you mentioned the breath. It's so powerful. And I thought how powerful to connect breath awareness with the aroma, right? You were talking about the olfactory system and being able to target nerves with essential oils. And I'm just fascinated in learning more. So
Mhm.
how do you utilize it, or how do essential oils promote wellness? And do you have favorite oils that you like to
Mhm.
use?
Yeah. I specifically use doTERRA oils, and
Mhm.
I have a membership group that I offer where I deliver regular education to my customers and also host tapping and mindfulness workshops within that membership. So it's a group
Oh,
practice.
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mhm. And I sort of highlight a different oil each time we work through it, but my favorite oils are Balance and Breathe. And Balance is a proprietary blend that doTERRA has created that you can put on the bottoms of your feet or
Mm.
around like the pinna, the outside of the ear, to just ground in. And there's actually been images shown of how the sort of the blood circulation before and after balance is applied to the bottoms of the feet and how it actually really enhances and helps the blood flow in the
Oh,
body.
wow.
Use
That's
balance.
incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So getting the blood flow moving obviously is going to help us think better, help us focus more. And I use that one daily. There's also one called Adaptive that helps with the stress relief. And
Mm.
that one is a blend from doTERRA as well. And there's so many things we can do with oils, and that's probably a separate conversation too of just like
Yes.
how much we can do. But definitely just there's three different ways to use essential oils. One is topically, the other is aromatically, which we all I think
Mm.
are familiar with. When we think of essential oils, we think of the good
Mhm.
smell that they have. And then like the topically, which is like applying it to the feet. And then if we apply it to any sensitive areas of the skin, using like a carrier oil is helpful because it helps to spread the oil further and then also protect from the skin because it's such a pure and potent essential oil. It's a tiny drop of the extraction of the plant, so it's going to be pretty potent. And then also internally, doTERRA has certified pure tested grade essential oils that are actually tested through um, connection with many different hospitals like Johns Hopkins, and they make sure that the oils are pure and
Oh, wow.
a great grade so that we can have them internally if we want to. So I put a lemon essential oil in my water every day to kind of cleanse the organs. And yeah, it's very nice.
How nice and convenient, I guess, to have your
Mhm.
oil there to add on and
Yeah.
facilitate healing. And I think you bring up something very interesting that I recently was reading about. And I think not everyone may know that not all essential oils are,
Yeah.
I guess, made alike or similar.
No.
It's there's different
Yeah.
I guess levels of quality when it
Mhm.
comes to essential oils. So I'm assuming I've heard really wonderful things about doTERRA, and I'm assuming with your background and everything, like all the research that you've done
Yeah.
um, with doTERRA.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not a regulated field at all. Essential oils, they're not FDA approved, so there's no
Mhm.
regulation around it, meaning there's not going to be someone that comes in and says, this is okay, or this is not okay. But what doTERRA has come forward and done with the connection of many doctors and chemists and researchers is to decide what is coming from the plant and what is going to be able to be safe for the consumer. And they've come up with this co-impact sourcing model as well, where they ensure the most sustainable way of getting the plant,
Mhm.
which is my favorite part about doTERRA, is that they ensure the sustainable quality of getting the plants and not um, killing off all of our nature, right? So,
Mhm.
and they also provide adequate and great commissions for the people who are growing the farms. And they go to local
Oh,
farmers all around the world. They source from 50 different countries where the plant is locally sourced and natively grown. And
oh,
they
wow.
have these local farmers who they pay on time upfront wages so that they can have a living where they may not have a living otherwise. Maybe their farm has been closed down or something, or they couldn't run their business. So doTERRA has come in to help bring that through. And then there's no middleman. So a lot of times the essential oil industry, there's someone in between from sourcing to bottling. And in
Mm,
that in between can become adulterated. So essential oils are then mixed and blended with other things that are not going to be pure from the source. So doTERRA has cut out the middleman and just gone straight through from sourcing to quality check to consumer.
that's incredible. See, I didn't know that. I was really curious. I knew once you
Yeah,
mentioned doTERRA, I wanted to learn more. And when it
thanks for
comes
asking.
to yeah, when it comes to then people choosing to say, all right, I am ready to do incorporate mindfulness. I've got essential oils. How do you recommend people stay consistent or even curious about what works for them?
Curiosity is the key right there, I think. It's just accessing the getting curious part of ourselves.
Mm,
These are new techniques for so many people. Tapping is new, essential oils are different.
mhm,
It's a different way of thinking than from how we've thought for many, many years of what to utilize in our health and wellness.
mhm,
Mindfulness is, I think, a little bit more widely known where we all think of like, "Oh, what's I guess I better be more mindful of the thing that
mm,
I need
mhm,
to do." But it's kinda coming up with the practice, and I would say a daily routine, maybe a reminder on the calendar or a timer that goes off that says, "Hey, time to check with your mindfulness." I know Apple Watch actually has some cool reminders of,
Oh,
"Hey, did you
yeah.
stand up? Hey, did you sit down? Hey, did you go for a walk?" Remember all these things.
Breathe. It'll even
Breathe.
tell me
Yeah,
sometimes, "Breathe." Yeah.
right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so remind yourself to breathe and take a breath and,
Mhm,
any of those little tiny reminders we can give to ourselves throughout the day can help set us up for the long term. It it's not a, you know, gotta do it all at
mm.
once, and that's it. It's a little by little, and every little bit each day helps to remind ourselves to come back into that inward motion of being mindful in
Mm.
ourselves, tuning in, checking in with ourselves, and breathing. Mhm.
The inward motion, I love that because I know that's yes, I love the name of your business, your wellness business,
Thanks.
inward motion. I think you highlighted something that's so important. I think in the past I've talked about in the wellness industry, sometimes there can be a lot of pressure, right? Got to do all the things. There's so much I need to do. And I love that even just in this conversation you've shared, I put some drops in my water in the morning. Like it could
Mhm.
be like this becomes part of your routine, small choices, small actions, and choosing to look inward. Those decisions add as part of your overall health and wellness journey. For and you mentioned earlier your group, so it sounds like amazing because that could be incorporated into someone's daily routine and through your support
Mhm.
being able to access that and in a group with others. I love the idea of all of that and it seems so convenient to be able to do that now through the technology that we have to
Mhm.
be able to access someone digitally. If someone wants to connect with you, what are the best ways to reach out and connect?
Yeah, absolutely. I am on Instagram. It's probably one of my favorite places to hang out.
Mhm.
Inwardmotion.essentials is my Instagram. I am working on building up my YouTube page a little bit more, but right now I do have 20 different videos of yoga on Maui. So you can see Maui while I
Oh,
do yoga and
wow.
practice yoga. So there's some videos on YouTube as well. It's just Christy Chadwick as the handle on there. And then my email is hello@christychadwick.com. Feel free to email, reach out that way. And you can also visit my website, which is christychadwick.com.
And you work with clients that are all over the US, right?
Essentially, I think in a therapy practice, I do
Mm,
focus mostly in Hawaii,
mhm.
but I do work with like coaching and individual work, especially when it comes to working with essential oils all over US and the
Mhm.
world, really.
Yeah.
But kind of building that international connection. Hmm.
That's incredible. I feel like we need to have a whole other conversation. You're right. I feel like oils and then talk about therapy because with your background, also you're a deaf educator as
Hmm.
well. So I feel like there we might need to have a series here. Like
Series of
I'm,
Christy Chadwick. Oh
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. My wheels are turning. Like we need
Oh,
to have a series. But
thank you.
I feel like what I've been in therapy myself, and I hear you say, you know, you had a car accident, which I wanted to dive even more into that because clearly you have found success through the areas that you have been seeking health and wellness and tools. And it sounds like you're sharing the resources that transformed your life to others so that their lives can be transformed as well, which is incredible. So would you say then that in many ways you are one of your own, I know it's a journey, but success stories, and that you've been able to utilize these tools for yourself, and how did you feel your life improved? Because I didn't want to leave
Hmm.
us hanging. Like I know we were like, oh, there was a car accident. I thought, oh my gosh, you know, and I'm wondering how you saw your life improved.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say I am my own client. I am like my own success story of the things that have worked for me. I try to share, and I think that's that going back to the why, that is part of the
Mm,
reason why I do what I do is because I do find that these are helpful tools and I don't want to keep them to myself. I want to help share this with other people. And I think that word empowerment resonates a lot of I felt empowered just knowing the information I learned
mm,
through
mhm,
gathering all these tools and working with them myself and learning more about my body. And um, in the health and wellness industry, there's a range of, I think, thoughts of what we can and cannot do for ourselves. And the health industry as a whole, like the medical model, sometimes just didn't work for me. I didn't want that. And I wanted alternatives, I wanted options. And so I found those options and I continue to access them as much as I can through different means of like acupuncture and body work and also therapeutic work and mental health and looking at the evidence-based practices is also really relevant to me. So
mhm,
it's shifted me a lot because I hadn't known any of this before those car accidents. I didn't know that I had other options. I didn't know that there were other tools that I could gather and work with other than like I got to go to a doctor and I guess that's my only option and whatever they say is all I have. So I'll just do
mhm,
that.
mhm,
Um, but that's not actually how it is, and there's way more opportunities out there, and it's just about finding them. And I think they're becoming more readily available
mhm.
nowadays, which is very exciting.
Absolutely. Very exciting, which I'm so grateful for you sharing your story and sharing the why behind what you do, and you do it with so much passion, and I'm grateful. Well, I'll make sure to include in the show notes how people can get in touch with you, Christy, so that for those who have been curious, right, but maybe overwhelmed, like how do I even start into mindfulness, into
Mhm.
tapping? How can I get support? How can I learn? Like you mentioned, being empowered just by learning by a certified professional, Kristy, is here. So
Mhm.
I will
Mhm.
definitely make sure to include all that in the notes. And
I wanna say too, I think what you're doing here with TeleWellness Hub is also helping open up the doors to there are other options. There are people you can access that are a range of modalities, a range of experiences, and so that there are these options and these opportunities. So, I wanna say thanks for opening up
oh,
this
thank
platform
you.
for that.
Oh, thank
Mhm.
you. I really appreciate it. For those listening, Kristy is one of the early adopters. Like, I have been able to connect with Kristy, get feedback, and I think I also was a client, and I also looked for options, and I also found support and health and in my own journey when it came to looking at alternative modes. And I also am a counselor, and so I also just want to amplify the voices of people who are truly empowering others and transforming lives. And though TeleWellness Hub is a startup, I hope we just continue to grow and just reach more lives. So I'm really grateful. Thank you for saying that. And I'm
Mhm.
equally as grateful to you for all the work that you're doing and the lives that are being transformed. So I actually, the last question I have for you is another kind of word of encouragement along that. So wellness is defined as the quality or state of being in good health, especially as an actively sought goal. And it's multidimensional: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, environmental. For those people who are listening and they're working on even setting a goal or working actively to reach goals, what words of encouragement do you have for them?
Mhm. Oh, the idea of setting a goal to look at the future of what they want to accomplish can feel like it's a giant mountain, and it can feel like there's so much to do from the present of where you are to where you want to be. And I think the encouragement is to take one step at a time, and that you don't have to go from point A to point Z right all in a day.
Mhm, mhm,
Um, my top strengths on Clifton Strengths Finder is futuristic. So I am constantly looking at like what I can do way, way, way in the future. And I have to remind myself to come back to the present, and it's
mhm.
okay to be here right now, and that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. So maybe even bringing in that mantra for yourself, like, yes, I want a goal. Yes, I want those things to come up. Yes, I have an idea in my mind of where I want to go, and I am okay and exactly where I'm meant to be right here, right now.
What an encouraging reminder to remind yourself, like, yes, I have these goals and I'm okay exactly where I am right now. Kristy, thank you so much for being a part of our wellness journey. I really appreciate chatting with you.
Thank you. Yeah, very happy to be here.